look through the archives of traditional Indian art, you'll find a world obsessed with power. The canvas was almost entirely reserved for celebrating divinity, military victories, and the staggering wealth of the royal courts. But this leaves a massive blank space in the historical record. What about the everyday people sweeping those courtyards? How did ordinary 18th century Indians actually live, work, and look? To find those answers, we have to look away from the palaces and turn to a distinct regional movement, the Patna School of Painting, or Patna Kalam. These artists completely abandoned the kings and deities. They traded jewel-encrusted thrones for wooden market stalls, focusing entirely on street-level reality. Long before cameras existed, these painters were building a detailed visual documentary of the Indian working class. This shift towards street-level subjects began with a royal crackdown. In the late 17th century, Emperor Aurangzeb implemented strict anti-art policies, leaving court artisans facing sudden unemployment and mass prosecution. Stripped of their livelihood, painters fled Delhi in search of new patrons. Many traveled eastward, finding temporary shelter in Murshidabad, under the Nawab of Bengal. As Murshidabad's political and economic power faded in the mid-18th century, these artisans packed up again. They migrated further west, finally settling in the bustling commercial hub of Patna. Patna presented a very different economic reality. The traditional royal court was gone. Instead, the painters had to sell their work to local aristocrats and Indophile officials from the British East India Company. To survive commercially, the artists had to adapt. Without royal commissions dictating their subjects, they looked out their windows and painted the local culture their new buyers wanted to see. The resulting style was a direct fusion of Eastern artistic tradition and Western market demands. You can see the lingering Mughal DNA in this watercolor. The artists retained vibrant palettes and incredibly fine brushwork on the clothing. But to please British buyers, they adopted Western techniques, adding deep shading and shadows to give people and objects solid, three-dimensional volume. They used a demanding procedure called Kajli Seahi. Painters applied ink and color straight to the paper, completely skipping preliminary pencil contours. Every stroke had to be decisive. This raw, direct application of paint perfectly mirrored the unpolished, gritty reality of the street life they were capturing. Because they were painting for a commercial market, the subjects were entirely grounded in the mundane. They painted local festivals and domestic chores, water sellers on their routes, and tradesmen at work. Take this illustration of a tam-tam, a common horse-drawn carriage from the era. Notice what is missing. The artists deliberately stripped away the wide, decorated borders and sprawling landscapes typical of older Persian and Mughal art. They produced these minimalist scenes on whatever materials were in demand, painting on paper, sheets of transparent mica, and even tiny ivory diskettes meant to be worn as brooches. By removing the background landscapes, the artists gave their audience nowhere else to look. The ordinary worker was forced to the center of the frame, demanding full attention. This documentary approach thrived right up until the mid-19th century, but its decline was swift. The socio-political landscape of the British Raj was shifting. The local Indian aristocracy, who had heavily supported the art form, gradually lost their wealth and influence, cutting off the painter's primary source of income. Then came a technological blow. The arrival of modern photography provided an instant, cheaper way to capture the exact documentary records of Indian life that the painters had specialized in. Furthermore, the school lacked any formal institutional support. No one systematically recorded their techniques or archived their history. When the master painters passed away, their unique skills died with them. Today, there is no one left actively practicing Kajli Seahi. The physical legacy is largely confined to just 3 surviving collections in Bihar's museums and libraries. The studios may be closed, but the work remains. These surviving paintings serve as a vibrant, unfiltered window into 19th century India, proving that the most compelling stories are often found in the reality of common life.